Hello everybody, my name is Will. It is very warm in my office and I am going to be designing for you a light tank today. Think about the autocannon firing things, kind of like the HSTVL or whatever it's called, and hopefully it's good. That's about all I need to say. Let's just do a time lapse. Enjoy. Time-lapse time, and I can't promise my voice will entirely hold up for this entire thing, but here we go. It's very late at night currently. A lot of the things in my house are now in boxes, but the move is now about a week away, is the day where we actually have to take the boxes out of this house and put them in a different house. So we're getting there. Eventually it will all be over. And that sounds far more intense than I intended it to. Thank you first, I guess, for those who have joined through Ramshackle. The video that I did on that has done very well, and that is good to know that I can still apparently make videos during this slightly tumultuous time, and they can still do well. If you want to help this one do well, for instance, you can leave a comment, or you can subscribe right now. Boom, there you go, there's my YouTuber plugs. But in general, we're building a light tank. Think like the HSTVL, or this one was more based off the RDF LT, which is Rapid Defense Force, Rapid Deployment Force, something like that. Fast, speedy. And we're going to arm it with a big old 30mm autocannon, which is going to require a little bit of file editing. This will not include an in-depth file editing tutorial, because that is quite the topic in and of itself. If you have any basic knowledge of JSON file structures, you'll probably just be fine doing any file editing. If you don't, then you might not do quite as well. But there are tutorials out there for people who do file editing, stuff like that, making little videos for you. I imagine Coulson has a segment in his like hour-long tutorial for it, but I don't know, maybe not. That's a freeform tutorial, so probably not, actually, now I think about it in like logical sense. Any good YouTuber would cut that out, but that's staying in the video, and that's how you know I'm honest and stuff. I've tried with this building segment, because this is quite a fiddly build in places. There's a lot of custom 3D modeled parts. I don't use a lot of the pre-made pieces that you can just place on your tank as a decoration, and so for that reason it's got a fair amount of everything going on in this one. We've got a fair amount of flat plain plates, which are a thing in of their own to make it look good. There's a fair amount of welded stuff as well, which is always an absolute nightmare to get right. And then there's all of your weird little greebles that you got on this tank. There's a lot of greebling going on in this one, because ultimately it's a very simple and it's a very flat design, and a lot of the time all you need to do to make it really feel good when it's a very flat design isn't to kind of add depth and texture where it wouldn't be in real life, but it's to add those little things that make something look real. It's like when you get a paper tank in World of Tanks, they always just feel a little bit off, and it's those like soft factors that you get with a lot of real designs. I don't know whether it could be stowage, little doors for maintenance access, stuff like that wasn't really thought about on these fake designs that people come up with a lot of the time, and it doesn't really make sense. And that's not saying my tanks make sense. Let me just clarify right now. I'm sure if a real engineer looked at these tanks, they would probably have an aneurysm, because I'm sure that these are completely impractical in many, many ways. But regardless, it's all about the appearance, isn't it? So long as it works in Sprocket, we're all good. And this thing really works in Sprocket. I gotta say, if you're looking for a quick and easy win, then something along these lines may well be the way to go. It's very wedge-alicious at the front, but it's not too wedgy at the sides and back, so you don't feel like you're cheesing it too much. Then again, I did have to file edit this, so I guess that's pretty cheesy. Without file editing, to be honest, it wouldn't make that much of a difference in the effectiveness of the vehicle. I think I got the load time down from 2.9 seconds to 1 second, so it's 3 times slower, but it would still do a decent job without the file editing. I'm pretty confident. Either way, you could give it a go if you want. There will be the tank files for this in the description below. You can go to my Discord, then there'll be the tank repository where this file will hopefully be shared at some point as of this video going up. and then you can download this. You can put your own gun on it. You can do whatever you want with it. It's yours. Go crazy, I guess. Here, I'm gonna have another conversation about the old trial and error, and I guess the journey towards making a good vehicle, because as pretentious as it sounds, so many times it does feel like an absolute quest getting these things to look good. This is one of the ones that I've really had to trust the process on, and I say this a reasonable amount, not so much recently, because I feel like I've been learning some tips and tricks that help me kind of get over this effect, but this turret at this moment in time looks god-awful. I mean, it looks like an onion mascot for like an energy company or something. It is absolutely looking ridiculous. If I sound like I'm going absolutely delirious, by the way, it is so hot in this room. I mean, probably 35, 40 degrees in this room. It is just, I've got no fans on so it doesn't mess up the audio. The window's not open so that I don't wake up everybody at midnight. It's going crazy, but either way, we soldier on. I might give myself heat stroke, but we're all good. My poor computer is also struggling. You might be watching this back on a perfectly clean and smooth bit of footage with a nice bit of audio playing, but the audio is stuttering for me, and the video is as well, so it makes it quite hard to have a solid train of thought during this. I wish I could come up with a reason why my editor's struggling so much, other than it's just a hefty bit of editing work that it's having to do right now. But frankly, I've just put a new graphics card in this computer, which is way more powerful than the previous one. So if this can't handle it, I don't know what can. I've also got a new CPU. Generally, the computer's doing a lot better. We've got a lot more power behind it, but trust Sprocket and video editing software to bring it to its knees. Good lord. This is where the turret really comes together, though. So you can see I've got this big block which just kind of appeared. I didn't put that in because it's a fairly simple structure, ultimately. This is going to be where we mount our gun, and this is kind of the thing that makes these tanks look so mean, is the weird, like, strut structure that holds the gun on. If anybody knows why that is, feel free to explain it. I don't really know. I'm just replicating what it looks like in Sprocket. There's probably a great reason for it, and it doesn't work how the one on this tank does, but I did my best job at making something that looks good in Sprocket and works well in Sprocket, and hopefully it's not too far from the real thing. I think it is, though. I think basically the gun is held externally to the firing compartment, and that means you can kind of better have the crew inside sealed in, because obviously when these tanks were designed, it was like the 60s, 70s to 80s, depending on which tank it is, and by the 60s, the threat of nuclear annihilation was definitely lingering, and therefore it was a consideration on tanks how well sealed they would be should there be, I don't know, let's say nuclear particulates in the air, which can make your crew's lifespan go from normal to much less than normal in a very short space of time if they breathe them in. So that's quite an important consideration. Also, one of the reasons why oscillating tanks kind of disappeared when nuclear war started looking like something that might be needed to think about, you know? That didn't make any sense, but we're rolling with it anyway. And from this point on in the design, it's pretty much Greeble until the end. Functionally and in terms of form, we have about the final structure, but it's time to put on little things like these custom modeled commander's hatches on top. Now, these don't have any little viewports, so I was trying to put them in here, but as you can see, it didn't really work. So I give up, and instead what we do is we kind of center another piece on top. Ignore this bit, this is not what I settled with. But I center another piece on top, and then I kind of make that piece horizontally mirrored and do a little vision slit out of these boxes here. And then what I ended up settling on doing is if you hold Alt and drag one of the like transform tools in Sprocket. It will clone the clone the part in place, and then move the new clone on that axis. So if you hold Alt and then use the rotation tool, you can see, not this one, this is when I was doing something else that didn't work, but here you can see it's going to create a clone and then rotate it around that central axis, which is why I mirrored it. Otherwise the part would have been rotating around itself. And that way, we could very quickly get the cupola to have these like 6 or 7 vision ports, which is not the most efficient in terms of computer intensity. This is quite the laggy file. There's a lot of nodes going on, a lot of add-on structures, but hey-ho, it's fun. Also, something that I do today is not only human Tetris, but composite armor. This isn't something I've played around with before. I've never done it, but it does work. Basically, if you put multiple plates layered in front of each other, it's not quite real composite, but in Sprocket, what it has the effect of doing is that once a shell has penetrated a piece of armor, the travel of the projectile will normalize somewhat, or kind of go opposite to the normal of the plate. So the normal is where the plate is flat to, and it basically curves away from the plate. So the plates that you saw me putting in the front, I've said plate too many times, has the effect of, if anything penetrates that main frontal lower plate, it will deflect the shell downwards and outside of the crew compartment. So it adds like more survivability than it really should, just because it's deflecting those post-penetration pellets away from the crew, away from the components. And then if it does go towards the crew, we do also have this fuel tank up front, which does hopefully soak up a couple shells. I don't really know if it works, or if it just sets the crew on fire and kills them. Maybe. I don't really do science when I do these videos. I just kind of mess about. And ultimately, science and messing about is really the same thing, just the only difference is you're writing it down in science. So I'm going to call that close enough. Anyway, this is pretty much the finished product. I hope you liked this one. Let's go see it absolutely smash some scenarios. Enjoy that. Well, here we go. Here is the finished thing. We've wound up at 24 tons, and with a little bit of file editing, you can see we have a stabilized cannon. We fire very, very quickly. We have about a 1-second reload, so it's about 60 rounds a minute with a 30mm cannon, which is relatively potent. It does about 120mm of penetration. So versus super heavy enemies, we might struggle, especially through the front. We're not going to have a huge amount of luck. But versus the sides of most enemies, I'm going to reckon we won't struggle too much. And the mobility, as you can see by me just giving it a little drive around here, is pretty darn good. So hopefully we've got some good attributes going for us. The front of our tank is also surprisingly well armored. As you can see from the angles, it's a pretty wedgy boy, and up here we've got like 290mm on the turret. It's weakest around here with about 190. There's a lot of armor, actually, on the front of this thing. These side pods are a little weak, but if we go internal view, you can see there is, like, firewalling between those compartments and the main bit of the tank, which appears to have disappeared. Okay, there we go. Now we are firewalled. So, in theory, we actually have a bit of survivability to go with us as well, but only from the front. From the sides, none. I mean, none. This thing is absolute mincemeat if we get someone around the side of us. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Let's take it into some combat and see how we do. Sorry, I'm incessantly saving this thing because I don't want to lose anything. Okay, we're going to go back into the slightly earlier war scenarios here, and we're going to start off with fields. So hopefully this isn't too much difficulty for us, given we have a tank that should easily smash this. There's a good number of my guys behind me, so many in fact that my frame rate isn't amazingly good. There's quite a lot of vertices on this tank. I've put on quite a lot of little bits and pieces that they get laggy, yeah. Oh well, that's fine. Okay, here is going to be the true test of our firepower on this mode. These heavy tanks, I think they have about 150mm of armor, so we might struggle to go through. Okay, we're about to test our firepower. Hi, buddy. We just need to see if this guy is going to die or not. And it's kind of hard to tell, to be honest. He isn't shooting back, but that could just be the AI being a bit weird. Okay, no, he is shooting back. Right, we definitely can't go through the front of his tank then. We are incredibly quick, and I reckon we can pull off quite the easy flank here, especially given they shouldn't be too much of a threat unless they hit the side or the tracks. So that should be fine. I just gotta charge up into this little ravine here. I'm gonna try again, but I don't think anything's gonna happen with that one. I got the tank on my right-hand side here, which I need to be wary of, but this guy on the hill needs to go. Eventually, we're gonna go through that side armor. We really, really need to go through that side armor. There we go. I am surprised how well armored the side of those things are. That's a little concerning, but I'm sure we'll be okay. Sorry, buddy. Your turn. I'm afraid you don't get a pass this time. Okay, we have the backs of some of these heavy tanks that we should be able to deal with pretty easily. You, hopefully, will be gone. There we go. There's one down there, but he has turned to faces, and I think the other guy... I don't know what's happened to the other guy. There was another one there. Light tank time. That should be him gone. That should be you gone, hopefully. Can't imagine those guys have enough armor to block me from really anywhere. We're causing some Catherine wheels to go off over on these light tanks here. Yep, that's definitely a couple of dead tanks. As the light tanks continue to explode, we should be able to get this guy as well. I think that should be him. If we press... Do we see as the ammo depletes? I think we do. We've got a fair bit of the turret ready rack left, so that's not too bad. I was a little bit worried that the ammo count in the turret wasn't spectacular, hence I added so much at the bottom of the turret. Bearing in mind that this thing reloads once every second. It will slow down once we get to the hull, but not too much, and there we go. That's that heavy tank destroyed, and I haven't shown this until now. This is new in Sprocket, in the Geometric Internals beta. You can now press O, just like in War Thunder, and you get a little overview of what's inside your tank, and it'll turn more and more red as it gets damaged until it's destroyed. But yep, that is a new thing. I've done this level. Let's move on. Oh, it's Crossroads. Joy of joys. This level was an absolute nightmare to get done earlier in the game's development. We only have 2 of these things, and presumably some kind of either King Taiga or Soviet Heavy at the end of these Crossroads. There we go, and we ain't going to go through the front of that thing, not in a million years. So I'm just going to do the old charge him down at full speed and pray, which may or may not work. We'll have to find out. His turret traverse looks really, really slow, so we might have a pretty easy time at this one. So far, he's not even fired a single shot at me, and he's not aiming at me again. Can we go through the side of his tank? Come on. Come on. Surely one of these must go through. No, apparently not. Let's hide. Wow. I really, really thought we would be doing better than this, but okay. We should be able to deal with him here, though, because this is the back of his turret, and that... There we go. I was going to say won't have any armor, and then it was an absolute nightmare to go through still. I'm a little concerned that we're going to struggle quite a lot with the actual late war scenarios now. But I guess we'll find out. Right, we didn't have enough fuel for this level, so I've had to add a couple of extra kind of chunky fuel tanks at the back here, but now we can make it no problem. And I don't know how many allies we have, if any. I don't see any, which doesn't spark joy, because Taiga used to be a real challenge of a level. Okay, it's been a long, long time since I played Taiga. I don't know how the enemies spawn now, but I'm gonna guess they can see me right now. That's an anti-tank gun. Okay. Are there not enemy tanks that spawn in? Is it just field pieces? Because if that's the case, we're gonna have a good time. Okay. Right. I don't know exactly what this is about. If this is genuinely just get past some anti-tank guns, or if I've just been incredibly lucky, but there you go. That's that's Taiga. Good job, I guess. We nailed that one. And finally, defense, which shouldn't be too challenging. We've managed this in much worse vehicles, so fingers crossed this is actually a bit of a walk in the park. I'm going to get into my usual spot in the middle here, which kind of helps to hide my hull, but it's not as good of a spot as it used to be, so we'll have to think about it a little bit. Those guys are already getting minced by my allies, which is good to see. Sometimes they just fail to use the guns on these things, the AI, but it seems today that even they can manage this tank. That should be that Soviet heavy dead. There's a light tank all the way over there, which shouldn't be too challenging to deal with. He looks like he's gone. There was another one back there somewhere. Oh god, there's another Soviet heavy. Okay, he's gone. What are we looking at in terms of enemies? I'm gonna guess there's one over there somewhere. Yeah, behind the heavy tank. My AI are finding them with quite the precision and making them very obvious to me. I am on fire, though, which isn't spectacular. I'm getting shot by my teammate. That would explain why things went so badly so quickly. What is going on? I think I may have built a tank that's a little bit too good here. There we go. Right. Victory! This is a very, very effective tank in Sprocket. I think probably because it's from an era that's a little bit too advanced for the game. But regardless, I think it looks really, really neat. It's kind of a clean build, but it's definitely not been a simple build. I hope you can appreciate the amount of work I put into this one, because this has been... Once again, it's been one of the longest projects I've ever done in Sprocket, so for this to flop would be an incredible shame. So hopefully you like this one. I think it's very cool, and hopefully it doesn't give Spookston nightmares. Regardless, that's all for today. If you would like the tank files for this tank, you can check that out in the description below. There will be a link to my Discord and in the tank repository channel. This will be shared at the upload date or whenever I remember, and you can check out the game's Steam page or the game's Discord below as well. That's all for me, though. I've made a meal of this outro. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. And as always, a huge thank you to my YouTube super supporters: Dark Wassler Black, Cody Fox, Yoki, Dougie Och, Doug3, Marlon Goiken, Peter Holmes, Peter Seifert, CamJam135, and Terra. And a huge thank you to all the regular tier supporters as well.